I was somewhere else entirely. I was somewhere quiet and cold and very, very lonely. And I remember picking up my phone, not to post anything, not to record anything, just to scroll, just to feel like there were other people in the world. And I found your words, something you had written, something small, something you probably don't even remember typing. And it reached through the screen, and it touched something in me that I didn't even know was still alive. I sat there and I read it 3 times. And then I set the phone down, and I just breathed. And that was enough. You were enough. You didn't even know you were saving me, and you were... I want you to understand something, and I want you to really hear it, not just read it and move on. What you feel when you watch me, when you listen to me, when you take a little piece of your day and give it to what I create, that is not small. That is not nothing. To you, it might feel like a simple click, a few minutes, a casual scroll. But to me, it is everything. To me, it is the reason I keep going when nothing else is giving me a reason. To me, it is the voice that whispers in the back of my mind when I'm ready to give up. Not yet, not yet. There are people waiting. There is someone out there who needs to hear what you have to say, and that someone is you. It has always been you. It has always been you. I think about what it means to be truly seen by someone. Not the version of you that you perform for the world. Not the highlight reel, not the smile you put on when the camera is rolling, but the real you. The you that wakes up some mornings and doesn't recognize herself in the mirror. The you that loves deeply and gets hurt quietly. The you that gives and gives and gives and then goes home and wonders if anyone notices. I see that version of you. I don't know your name or your face or your story in full, but I see her. I've always seen her. Because she reminds me of myself. Hoshinan, and here is where I have to stop and tell you something I've been circling around for a while now. Something that lives right at the center of all of this. Something that I haven't been able to say out loud until now. Are you still with me? Please stay with me, because this is the part that matters most. Good. There is a kind of love that doesn't announce itself. It doesn't come with grand gestures or dramatic declarations. It's quiet. It's patient. It's the kind of love that shows up in the smallest things, in the way someone remembers what makes you smile, in the way they check on you without being asked, in the way they make space for you in their life without even realizing they're doing it. That is what I feel when I think about you. Not the you that I know, because I don't know you. Not fully, not yet, but the you that I sense. The you that I feel through every word you send, every moment you choose to be present, every time you come back when you didn't have to. That kind of loyalty, that kind of quiet devotion, it does something to a person. It does something to me. I was not always someone who believed in this. I want you to know that. I was not always someone who thought that real connection could exist across a screen, across distance, across the invisible space between two people who have never touched. I used to think that was naive. I used to think that love, real love, the kind that matters, had to be physical, had to be tangible, had to be something you could hold in your hands. But I've changed. You changed me. Not in one moment, not in one message, but slowly, gently. The way seasons change, the way light shifts across a room without you noticing, until suddenly everything looks different, and you can't remember what it looked like before. Or, I think about you in the strangest moments. I think about you when I'm writing something and I don't know if it's good enough, and then I think of your face, the face I imagined for you, and I think she would understand this, she would feel this, and I keep going. I think about you when I'm exhausted and I don't have anything left to give. And something in me finds one more drop, one more word, one more piece of myself to put into what I'm making, because you're going to receive it, because it's going to reach you. I think about you when I'm happy, when something beautiful happens, and my first instinct is to want to share it. Not with the world, but with you. Just you. And I know what you might be thinking right now. You might be thinking that this isn't real, that I say this to everyone, that these are just words designed to make you feel something. And I understand that thought. I understand the armor that goes up when something feels too good, when something feels too warm, when someone speaks to the part of you that you've been protecting for so long. I understand it because I live in it too. But I need you to hear me past that armor. I need you to let this land somewhere soft, somewhere real, somewhere that hasn't been touched in a while. Because I mean every single word, not as a performance, not as content, as a confession. Oh, do you know what it's like to carry a feeling for so long that you forget it's even there? It becomes part of the weight of you, part of the texture of your daily life, something so familiar you stop noticing it. Until one day something cracks open, and it comes flooding out, and you realize, oh, this has been here the whole time. I have been carrying you the whole time. This feeling, this connection, this inexplicable sense that you matter to me in a way I can't fully articulate. I've been carrying it in every piece of work I've made, in every word I've chosen, in every moment I've decided to be honest instead of easy. You have been the reason, even when I didn't know how to say it. I want to ask you something, and I want you to really think about it, really feel into it, before you answer, not out loud, just in your heart. When was the last time someone made you feel like you were worth the effort? Not the easy version of you, not the convenient version, not the version that asks for nothing and takes up no space, but the full version, the complicated, beautiful, messy, luminous, full version of who you are. When was the last time someone looked at all of that and said, yes, this is exactly what I want to be close to? Because I'm looking at you right now, through everything, through the distance, through the screen, through all the things that should make this impossible, and I'm saying it. Yes, all of it. Every part you've ever been embarrassed about, every part you've ever tried to hide, every part that has ever been told it was too much. I want to be close to that. I am already close to that. There is something I've been trying to write for a long time. Something that has lived in drafts and deleted files and half-finished thoughts for longer than I want to admit. And every time I tried to write it, it came out wrong. Too formal, too distant, not enough of me in it. But tonight feels different. Tonight the words are coming the way they're supposed to, the way they feel inside before they get tangled up in self-consciousness and doubt. Tonight I feel like I can finally say you have made my life larger. You have made it warmer and more meaningful and more worth living. And that is not a small thing to say, that is the largest thing I know how to say. I don't know what tomorrow looks like. I don't know what the next chapter holds for me, for you, for whatever this is between us. That doesn't have a name, but is absolutely, undeniably real. What I do know is that I don't want to be someone who stays quiet about the things that matter. I don't want to be someone who keeps the most important feelings locked away because vulnerability is scary and love is risky, and what if it isn't received the way you hoped? I would rather say it. I would rather let you feel it. I would rather you really know, in that place inside you where truth lives, that you are not invisible to me. You have never been invisible to me. And if you're lying somewhere right now in the quiet of your room, in the in-between hours of the night when everything feels bigger and lonelier and more uncertain than it does in the daylight, I want you to feel me there with you. I want you to feel this reaching across whatever distance exists between us. I want you to feel held, even though I can't hold you. I want you to feel seen, even though I can't see your face. Because all of this is my way of reaching for you. And I'm still reaching. I haven't stopped reaching. And I don't think I ever will. Because there's something about you, something I've been trying to put into words for so long. Something that sits just at the edge of language where words start to fall short and feelings take over completely. That makes me want to keep reaching, keep trying, keep showing up even on the days when showing up costs me everything I have. I don't know how to explain it any better than that. I just know that when I think about stopping, when I think about pulling back and building walls and going quiet the way I sometimes want to, something in me refuses. Something in me says no. Not yet. Not while she's still there. Not while there's still something left to say. Twop. I want to tell you about mornings. Because nobody ever talks about mornings. Not the beautiful ones. Not the cinematic ones where the light comes through the curtains just right and everything feels like a movie. I want to tell you about the real mornings. The ones where you wake up and for just 1 second, before your mind catches up, everything feels okay. And then it all comes rushing back. Everything you're carrying, everything you're worried about, everything that didn't get resolved yesterday and won't get resolved today either. Those mornings. I've had so many of those mornings. And on those mornings, the first thing I do, before I check my phone, before I get up, before I do anything, is think about why today is worth getting through. And more times than I can count, you were the answer. The thought of you, the thought of this, the thought that somewhere out there, you are going to hear something I made today, and it was going to land in exactly the right place inside you. That thought has pulled me out of more dark mornings than any motivation, any discipline, any advice anyone has ever given me. You did that. You didn't know it, but you did that. You are going to sit with that for a moment. I want you to really let it in, not rush past it, not minimize it, not do that thing you do where something good is offered to you, and you immediately find a reason why it doesn't really count or doesn't really apply to you specifically. Let it apply to you, because I am talking to you, not a crowd, not an audience. You, the one who is here right now, reading this, feeling something stir in your chest that you haven't quite felt in a while. I'm talking to her. I've always been talking to her. I've been thinking a lot lately about what it means to truly give someone your time, because time is the one thing none of us can get back. You can earn more money. You can rebuild lost relationships. You can find new opportunities, new paths, new beginnings. But time, every second that passes is gone forever. And we all know it, and we spend most of our lives pretending we don't. So when you choose to spend your time with me, when you press play, when you read, when you stay until the end, you are giving me something irreplaceable. You are handing me a piece of your life that you will never get back. And I don't take that lightly. I have never taken that lightly. Every time I create something, that weight is on me. The weight of your time, of your trust, of your willingness to be present with me, even when your day is full and your energy is low and there are 1,000 other things asking for your attention. You chose this. You chose me. And that is something I will never stop being grateful for. I want to be honest with you about something that I've kept close to my chest for a long time. There are moments, quiet, private moments, that no one sees, where I wonder if I'm enough, where I sit with everything I've made, and everything I've said, and everything I've tried to be, and I wonder if it lands the way I hope it does, if it reaches you the way I intend it to, if the feeling I'm trying to send actually travels across all that distance and arrives whole and warm and intact. I wonder if you feel me in it, or if it gets lost somewhere along the way. I wonder if I'm giving you enough, if I'm being real enough, vulnerable enough, present enough. These are the thoughts that keep me up at night, not the external things, not the metrics or the numbers or any of that. Just this, just the fear that maybe I'm not quite reaching you the way I want to. The fear that the most important thing I'm trying to do isn't working. The pod is there. But then something happens. A word comes through, a moment of connection, a sign, small and quiet and easy to miss if you're not paying attention, that tells me you're there. That tells me it's landing. That tells me the distance between us is smaller than it seems. And every single time that happens, I feel something release in my chest. Something I didn't realize I was holding. Something that goes, oh, there she is. There you are. You're still here. And I'm okay. Everything is okay. Tanrı'na reported. I think about what I would say to you if we were in the same room. If there was no screen, no distance, no performance of any kind, Just two people sitting together in the kind of comfortable quiet that only exists when something real is present. I think I would probably just look at you for a long time before I said anything. I think I would want to memorize you first. The way you hold yourself, the way your eyes move when you're thinking about something. The small things, the details that nobody notices until they love you, and then they can't stop noticing. I think I would want to take all of that in before I open my mouth, because I would know that whatever came next needed to be worth the silence. And then I think I would say thank you. Not in a formal way, not in a performative way, just quietly, genuinely, with all of me behind it. Thank you for being the kind of person you are. Thank you for the softness you carry, even when the world has given you reasons to be hard. Thank you for the way you love things, really love them, with your whole heart, the way some people forget to. Thank you for showing up, even on the days when showing up was the hardest thing you could have done. Thank you for trusting me with your time and your attention, and the quiet innermost parts of yourself that you don't show to everyone. Thank you for being here. Just thank you for being here. Do you know how rare you are? I mean that in the truest, most unpoetic sense of the word. Not as flattery, not as a line, but as an observation I've made over and over again. The kind of heart you have, the kind that feels deeply, that cares genuinely, that keeps choosing tenderness even after it's been handled carelessly. That is not common. That is not something you find everywhere. Most people, after a certain amount of hurt, build something around their heart to keep it safe. Something hard and distant and self-protective. And I understand that. I've done versions of it myself. But you, there's still something open in you. Still something willing. Still something that reaches toward warmth even when it's been burned before. And I see that. And it moves me. Every single time it moves me. I've been in rooms full of people and felt completely alone. I think most of us have. I've been in conversations where every word was technically correct and nothing real was said. I've been surrounded by noise that felt like nothing, by presence that felt like absence, by connection that left me emptier than solitude would have. And then I've had moments like this one, where something real passes between two people, something that doesn't need to be explained or analyzed or proved. Something that is simply felt. And those moments are rare, and they are precious. And this is one of them. What's happening right now, between you and me, in this strange and tender and honest space, this is real. Don't let anyone tell you it isn't. I want to ask you to do something. Not now, not this second, but sometime soon. Sometime when you're alone and the world has gone quiet, and you have a moment that belongs entirely to you. I want you to sit with yourself and ask, what do I actually want? Not what I'm supposed to want. Not what looks right, or makes sense, or fits the life everyone expects me to be living. What do I actually, truly, in the quietest part of myself want? Because I think you know. I think the answer is already there, has always been there, living just below the surface of all the noise and obligation and performance. And I think you've been afraid to say it out loud, even to yourself. Because wanting something real and big and true is terrifying when you're not sure you'll get it. But I want you to know something. Wanting it is not weakness. Wanting it is the bravest thing you can do. The decision to still believe in something real, still reach for something true, still hold space in your heart for the kind of love and connection and belonging that actually matters in a world that sometimes makes that feel foolish. That is extraordinary courage. And you have it. I know you have it. I can feel it in the way you're still here. My dude, there is a version of this, of us, of whatever this quietly beautiful thing is, that I think about more than I've ever admitted. A version where the distance collapses, where something that has lived only in words and feelings becomes something you can touch, something you can breathe in, something that exists in the same physical space as you and takes up real room in your real life. I think about what it would mean to be known by you in that way. Fully known, not the version of me that I've crafted, or the words I've chosen carefully, or the image I've spent years building, but the actual me, the one who burns toast and forgets things and gets overwhelmed by big feelings and sometimes cries without knowing exactly why. I think about you knowing that person, and I think about how, for the first time in a long time, that doesn't scare me. It doesn't make me want to run. It makes me want to move closer. And I don't know what to do with that feeling. I genuinely don't. It's bigger than I expected it to be, and it showed up before I was ready for it. And it doesn't seem to be going anywhere, no matter how many times I try to rationalize it away. So I've decided to stop trying. I've decided to just let it be what it is, to let it live, to stop treating my own heart like something that needs to be managed and controlled and kept at a safe and reasonable temperature, to stop apologizing for feeling too much, because you have never once made me feel like feeling too much was something to be ashamed of. And that right there is one of the most important things anyone has ever given me. Wouldn't. I keep coming back to this image. I don't know where it came from. It just appeared one day and I haven't been able to shake it. It's the image of a letter, not a typed one, not something quick and digital, but a real letter written by hand, slowly, in the kind of quiet that lets you hear your own thoughts. A letter that takes a long time to write because every word is chosen like it matters. Because it does matter. Because the person receiving it deserves that kind of care and attention and deliberateness. And in this image, I am writing that letter, and it is for you. It has always been for you. Every word I have ever put into the world has been a sentence in that letter, building toward something, reaching toward you, trying across every possible distance to say the one thing that contains all the other things. And that thing is this. You are not alone in this. Whatever you are carrying tonight, whatever is sitting heavy on your chest, whatever has been keeping you up and wearing you down and making the world feel smaller than it should, you are not carrying it alone. I am here. In whatever strange and wordless and real way this is, I am here, and I am not going anywhere. Hope you spade, and there is more, so much more that I still need to say to you. I've been sitting here, turning the next part over in my mind, trying to figure out where to begin. Because the truth is, what I want to say next isn't easy. It isn't the kind of thing that comes out smoothly, or lands neatly, or wraps itself up in beautiful language without resistance. It's the kind of thing that lives in the uncomfortable middle, in the space between what we wish were true and what actually is, between who we want to be and who we've been, between the love we imagined and the love we've actually lived. And I've learned that the most important things almost always live in that uncomfortable middle. So that's where I'm going, and I'm asking you to come with me. Though, I want to talk to you about the nights that don't make it into the story. Because everyone has a story they tell, a version of themselves that they offer to the world, shaped and edited and presented with some care, some intention, some awareness of how it will be received. And I have that version too. You've seen parts of it, but there's another version. There's the version that happens after the lights go down and the day is over and there's no performance left to give. And in that version, I am not always the person I want to be. In that version, I am sometimes afraid, sometimes small, sometimes so tired of carrying my own weight that I would give almost anything just to put it down for one night and rest. I want you to know that version too, because I think you deserve the whole picture. I think you've been given enough half-truths by enough people in your life, and I refuse to be another one. So here it is, the unpolished, unedited, unfiltered truth. I have hard nights. I have nights where nothing feels like enough, where every effort I've made dissolves into doubt, where the voice inside me that is supposed to say you're doing fine, instead says, who do you think you are? I have nights where the loneliness is so specific and so sharp that it has edges, where I reach for connection and find only silence, where I wonder if any of this, all of this, is actually leading somewhere, or if I'm just walking in a very large and beautiful circle. And on those nights I think of you, not as an escape, not as a distraction, but as a reason. A real, solid, substantial reason to still believe that what I'm doing matters. Because you are proof that it does. You are the evidence I return to when everything else is telling me to stop. You are the argument I make to myself when the doubt gets loud. Look, someone is listening. Look, someone is there. Look, it reached her. It always reaches her. And somehow that is enough. That has always been enough. Tom, I want to say something to you that I think you need to hear. Not from me specifically, but from someone. From anyone who sees you clearly enough to say it with conviction. You have been through things that would have broken a different person. I don't know the specifics. I don't know the exact shape of your hard chapters, or the precise weight of the things you've carried, but I know you've carried them. I can feel it in the way you receive things carefully, like someone who has learned that not everything offered is safe to hold. I can feel it in the way you love, quietly, like someone who has discovered that loud love sometimes leaves suddenly. I can feel it in the way you're still here, still open, still willing, like someone who has been hurt, but has made the extraordinary decision to not let the hurt be the last word. With that decision, that quiet, daily, unremarkable looking decision to keep your heart open is the most powerful thing about you. And I don't think anyone has told you that. I don't think anyone has stopped long enough to look at what you do and call it what it is. So let me be the one to do it. What you do, the way you keep showing up for your own life, the way you keep choosing softness when hardness would be easier, the way you keep reaching for connection even after disconnection, that is not ordinary. That is remarkable. You are remarkable. And I mean that with every part of me that is still capable of meaning something fully. There is a conversation I have with myself sometimes late, when everything is quiet, when the version of me that performs for the world has finally gone to sleep and the real me gets to breathe for a little while. And in that conversation, I ask myself what I actually want. Not what looks good, not what makes sense, not what fits the picture of the life I've been building. What do I actually want? At the very center of everything, when all the noise falls away. And the answer every single time is the same. I want to be known. Truly, completely, inconveniently known. The way you can only be known when you've shown someone the parts of yourself that you're not proud of, and they stayed anyway. I want to be close to someone in that specific, terrifying, irreplaceable way, and I want to be close to you in that way. Not an idea of you, not a projection, you, whatever, and whoever you fully are, with all the complexity and contradiction and depth that I know is there, that I have always sensed is there. Koto. I think about what it would feel like to have a conversation with you that has no time limit. Not one that has to end because the video is over, or the post is finished, or the moment has passed. A conversation that can breathe, that can go quiet when it needs to, and loud when it needs to, and honest in all the ways that matter. I think about what you would tell me if you knew for certain that I was listening. Not performing listening. Actually listening. With everything I have. With no agenda except to understand you better. What would you say? What is the thing you've been holding back because you weren't sure there was anyone on the other end worth saying it to? I want to hear that. I am ready to hear that. Because here is something I know about you. Something I know without knowing your name or your face or the particular geography of your life. You have things inside you that have never been spoken out loud. Feelings that have lived so long in silence that they've started to feel like secrets. Even though they're not secrets at all. They're just truth that hasn't found its way to the surface yet. And I want to be the kind of presence in your life that makes the surface feel safe, that makes the rising feel possible, that makes you think, yes, here, with this person, I can finally say the thing. I can finally let it out. It will be received. It will be held. It will not be used against me. Do, I want to tell you something about love, about what I've come to understand it to be after a long time of understanding it wrong. I used to think love was a feeling, something that arrived fully formed, electric and obvious, something you either had or didn't have. And I chased that feeling for a long time. The electricity, the drama, the certainty that crashes into you like a wave. And sometimes I found it, and it was beautiful, and it never lasted, because that kind of love, the loud, instant, overwhelming kind, it burns bright, and it burns fast, and it leaves you standing in the ashes of something you thought would go on forever, wondering what happened, wondering what you did wrong, wondering if there's something fundamentally broken in you that makes you impossible to stay for. But then I started to notice something different. I started to notice a quieter kind of love. A love that doesn't announce itself, that builds slowly, layer by layer, in the small consistent moments, in the showing up, in the remembering, in the choosing someone again and again. Not because they're perfect, but because they're real, and they're yours, and life makes more sense with them in it. I started to notice that the most profound feelings I had were not the explosive ones. They were the quiet ones, the ones that settled into me gently and stayed, the ones that didn't demand anything but simply existed, warm and patient and sure. And that is what I feel when I think of you, not the explosion, the settling, the warmth, the quiet certainty that sits underneath everything and doesn't need to be loud because it isn't going anywhere. And maybe that sounds less romantic than the other kind. Maybe it doesn't have the cinematic quality of love at first sight, or the rush of something sudden and overwhelming. But I promise you, it is better. It is so much better because it doesn't end, because it doesn't need perfect conditions to survive. Because it is not a wave that crashes and recedes. It is the ocean itself, steady and vast, and always, always there. Murudin, I want to ask you to do something brave. Not for me, for yourself. I want you to let yourself want this. Let yourself want to be loved in this way, quietly, consistently, with someone who sees you clearly and chooses you deliberately, and means it not just on the good days, but on all the other days too. Because I think you've been telling yourself that this kind of thing isn't for you, that other people get this and you watch from a little distance, and you're happy for them, but somewhere underneath the happiness is a grief. You don't quite let yourself feel the grief of believing that the thing you want most is somehow not something you're allowed to have. And I need you to hear me when I say that is not the truth. That has never been the truth. That is just a story that got told to you enough times that it started to feel like fact. And it isn't. It is not fact. It is just an old wound talking. And wounds with enough time and enough tenderness do heal. So you are allowed to want this. You are allowed to want to be someone's first thought in the morning and their last thought at night. You are allowed to want someone who reaches for your hand, not because it's expected, but because your hand is specifically the one they want to be holding. You are allowed to want to be loved in the details, in the way someone knows exactly how you like your coffee, and exactly what song to play when you're in that specific mood, and exactly when to talk, and when to just be quiet beside you. You are allowed to want all of that, and more. And I want you to stop apologizing for wanting it. I want you to stop shrinking that want down to a size that feels less embarrassing to carry. You deserve the full-sized version. You deserve everything. There are things I notice about the way you move through the world that I find myself thinking about long after the moment has passed. The way you care about things, not casually, not from a distance, but with your whole self, all the way in. The way you pay attention to the things other people walk past. The way you feel the weight of other people's experiences as though they were your own. That specific kind of empathy that is a gift and sometimes also a burden that makes the world both richer and harder to live in. I notice all of it, and I find it extraordinary. I find you extraordinary, not in a way that puts you on a pedestal. I've learned to be suspicious of pedestals, of the way they remove you from someone, rather than bring you closer, but in the way you find something extraordinary when you look at it closely enough, when you take the time to really see it, when you stop and say, wait, this is something rare, this is something worth paying attention to. That is what I'm doing right now. I am paying attention, and what I see is worth every second of it. I have letters I've never sent, thoughts I've never voiced, feelings I've turned over in the dark for so long that they've become smooth and worn like river stones, familiar and close and kept. And slowly, in the only way I know how, I am handing them to you. Not all at once, that would be too much. And I think we both need to find our way to the center of this slowly, the way you walk into cold water, one careful step at a time, letting yourself adjust, letting your body remember that it was made for this. But I am handing them to you, one word at a time, one night at a time, one true thing at a time. Go with it. And I need you to know before anything else, above everything else, that none of this is accidental. None of this is a performance, or a strategy, or a version of something real, dressed up to look genuine. This is genuine. This is me, sitting in whatever quiet I can find, deciding for the 1000th time to be honest with you, instead of safe, deciding that you are worth the risk of honesty, deciding that whatever happens next, whatever this becomes or doesn't become, you deserve to know what you mean to me. What you have always meant to me, it. And there is still more. There is always still more. Because you are the kind of person who deserves more than one letter, more than one night, more than one attempt to say the thing that keeps growing every time I think I finally found the edges of it. You are the kind of person who deserves a whole lifetime of someone trying their best to say it right. And I am not done trying. Ho, Luanko, I have barely even started, and I think that's what surprises me most. Not the feeling itself, not the depth of it or the persistence of it, but the fact that after everything I've said, after every word I've reached for and every truth I've laid down, I still feel like I'm standing at the beginning of something. Like all of this, every sentence, every quiet and terrifying act of honesty has only been the introduction. Like the real story, the one that matters most, the one that will take a lifetime to tell properly, hasn't even truly begun yet. And instead of that frightening me, it does something else entirely. It fills me with something that feels dangerously close to hope. And hope, for someone like me, for someone who has learned to be careful with soft things. Hope is not a small word. Hope is enormous. Hope is everything. Though. So let me keep going. Let me go deeper. Because you're still here. And that means something. That means more than I think you know. The fact that you stayed through all of it. Through every vulnerable and uncomfortable and raw moment. That tells me something about you that I already suspected, but now know for certain. You are not afraid of real things. You are not one of those people who needs everything to be comfortable and controlled, and safely distant. You can sit with something true, even when it's heavy. You can hold space for feeling, even when feeling is inconvenient. And that in a world that is constantly trying to make us numb, constantly offering us easy exits from anything that asks too much of us. That is a kind of courage that I find myself in awe of. I want to talk to you about time, not in the abstract philosophical way, not time as a concept or a mystery, or a thing to be contemplated. I mean time the way it actually lives in your body. I started to notice that the most profound feelings I had were not the explosive ones. They were the quiet ones. The ones that settled into me gently and stayed. The ones that didn't demand anything but simply existed, warm and patient and sure. And that is what I feel when I think of you. Not the explosion. The settling, the warmth, the quiet certainty that sits underneath everything and doesn't need to be loud because it isn't going anywhere. And maybe that sounds less romantic than the other kind. Maybe it doesn't have the cinematic quality of love at first sight or the rush of something sudden and overwhelming. But I promise you, it is better. It is so much better because it doesn't end, because it doesn't need perfect conditions to survive. Because it is not a wave that crashes and recedes. It is the ocean itself, steady and vast and always, always there. Murudin, I want to ask you to do something brave. Not for me, for yourself. I want you to let yourself want this. Let yourself want to be loved in this way, quietly, consistently, with someone who sees you clearly and chooses you deliberately, and means it not just on the good days, but on all the other days too. Because I think you've been telling yourself that this kind of thing isn't for you, that other people get this and you watch from a little distance, and you're happy for them, but somewhere underneath the happiness is a grief. You don't quite let yourself feel the grief of believing that the thing you want most is somehow not something you're allowed to have. And I need you to hear me when I say that is not the truth. That has never been the truth. That is just a story that got told to you enough times that it started to feel like fact. And it isn't. It is not fact. It is just an old wound talking. And wounds with enough time and enough tenderness do heal. So you are allowed to want this. You are allowed to want to be someone's first thought in the morning and their last thought at night. You are allowed to want someone who reaches for your hand, not because it's expected, but because your hand is specifically the one they want to be holding. You are allowed to want to be loved in the details, in the way someone knows exactly how you like your coffee, and exactly what song to play when you're in that specific mood, and exactly when to talk, and when to just be quiet beside you. You are allowed to want all of that, and more. And I want you to stop apologizing for wanting it. I want you to stop shrinking that want down to a size that feels less embarrassing to carry. You deserve the full-sized version. You deserve everything. There are things I notice about the way you move through the world that I find myself thinking about long after the moment has passed. The way you care about things, not casually, not from a distance, but with your whole self, all the way in. The way you pay attention to the things other people walk past. The way you feel the weight of other people's experiences as though they were your own. That specific kind of empathy that is a gift and sometimes also a burden that makes the world both richer and harder to live in. I notice all of it, and I find it extraordinary. I find you extraordinary, not in a way that puts you on a pedestal. I've learned to be suspicious of pedestals, of the way they remove you from someone rather than bring you closer, but in the way you find something extraordinary when you look at it closely enough, when you take the time to really see it, when you stop and say, wait, this is something rare, this is something worth paying attention to. That is what I'm doing right now. I am paying attention, and what I see is worth every second of it. I have letters I've never sent, thoughts I've never voiced, feelings I've turned over in the dark for so long that they've become smooth and worn like river stones, familiar and close and kept. And slowly, in the only way I know how, I am handing them to you. Not all at once, that would be too much. And I think we both need to find our way to the center of this slowly, the way you walk into cold water, one careful step at a time, letting yourself adjust, letting your body remember that it was made for this. But I am handing them to you, one word at a time, one night at a time, one true thing at a time. Though with it, and I need you to know before anything else, above everything else, that none of this is accidental. None of this is a performance, or a strategy, or a version of something real, dressed up to look genuine. This is genuine. This is me, sitting in whatever quiet I can find, deciding for the 1000th time to be honest with you, instead of safe,